also important to laugh at yourself a little bit. We do a cocoa with the popo on this campus, where I think probably a lot of departments have coffee or pizza with the students, but we just kind of added a fun name to it, and people see it and they laugh about it. I don't care if the laugh is what brings them to my table to talk to me, or it's the hot chocolate. It doesn't make any difference. It gives me an opportunity and gives my staff an opportunity to engage with somebody. We do a pie in the face event at the end of the year, just so the students can blow off steam. They raise enough money for a student emergency fund, they get to pie me in the face. I've sit on a teeter totter. I sit on dunking booths. Again, it's all about getting out there. If you can sit in an office and you can manage a police department, and you can probably do it very effectively, but you're probably not going to enjoy it. I enjoy what I'm doing, and I think that's because I get out there, and I think the students see that in our department, and I think that's why we have a tremendously good relationship with our campus constituents. I mean, they know that we're out there all the time, not just when there's a problem. I mean, we've got to get past that. As law enforcement in general, we have to let people know that we care about them and we're here to help first. We make a lot of things teachable moments. We have a student affairs department where we may not take minor infractions to the criminal justice system. We may take them to our student affairs and let them sanction. And I think that also shows the students that it's not about always writing tickets and making arrests. Sometimes it's about connecting people with resources and getting them help in some cases.
Right. And a lot of times I feel like kids in college, it's a completely new environment. Sometimes they make dumb mistakes.
Teachable moments.
They'll learn from. And, if they're given a little bit of grace, then they'll, respect it a little bit more, I think. Obviously, there's a fine line depending on it. But
sometimes we have people that absolutely beg to get involved in the criminal justice system, and we try to oblige those people too. But generally speaking, there's some really good teachable moments. We see a student walking down the street with a street sign, and we stop them, and we get to talk to them. We tell them how dumb the decision is and that they're making, and that they have to go take the sign back. And then we send a little report to student affairs, and they may have to write a 1,200-word essay, which, trust me, I'm on an engineering campus and they write a lot of papers. A 1,200-word essay is going to be much more effective in the deterrent mode than a $50 fine is, right?
Are there certain aspects of it being a medical campus that made it more challenging for you to address the cultural issues, and how did you overcome that?
Well, some of that I did respond to, but there's other aspects of it. I won't say it made it challenging, but it did make it interesting, and it made me aware of other things that we need to be aware of and my people need to be trained up for. So because this is a medical situation, a medical university, we have a very diverse group of students. Matter of fact, we have a very diverse group of faculty as well. And with that, naturally, there comes some changes. You need to know how to address people. You have to be able to embrace other cultures. There can't be any biasness or prejudices when it comes to that. So we have to make sure that we train. There's a certain way that you have to train to be able to de-escalate a situation that may work for Memphis, it may work for Americans, but when you have other cultures involved, you might have to take a step back and approach it in a totally different perspective. So that brought in a unique challenge as well. Again, the students coming from all over the country, the fact that they all are mature, they have certain expectations from themselves, their family have certain expectations of them. And naturally, we have to make those adjustments to embrace the different cultures as we move along our day-to-day businesses.
And we're able to provide additional diversity within our department because of this program. If you look at the demographics of the 53 that we're bringing in August, and this has been the standard really through, we started this in 2018. And so every year we have a diverse group of students who participate. We have students of color. We have of the 53 coming in the fall of 2022, 29 of those are women. And so it's really fantastic. And like I said, we've got agencies from all over the state who want to come up here and recruit those who are in our program and those types of things. So it's not only does it benefit our campus, not only does it benefit the individual student, obviously, benefits our campus, makes us a safer campus, and it benefits policing as a whole. And so it's something that we think is just, we think it's innovative. We think it's something that's going to change the scope of policing. And our universities have to get involved in police officer training. They just have to. We're, as I mentioned, you could decide now to become a police officer and certainly within a year be out patrolling on your own, and you're just not prepared to handle that. And so we need to professionalize the job. Traditionally it's been a blue collar job. We need to professionalize that. We need to professionalize the training and create higher standards for those who are getting into the field. And it's really, in my opinion, there's not a more important job in our society, right? We're protecting people's lives. And I think we've got to really look at this and think about how far we want to go in changing it, right? And so we don't look at the extensive training and schooling that doctors undergo or that attorneys undergo. And to me, policing is no different, right? It requires much more education and training than we've been providing in the past, and our universities are the key to that. And this program, really, in my mind, is a first step to get to those types of things.
First and foremost, right, we have to recognize that every single member of our department that goes out every single day, they're our ambassadors, they're our salespeople for whatever services that we're selling, essentially, whether it be the institution or just an interdepartmental service that we're working on. So it's really important that those salespeople, right, are going out with all of the tools, all of the training, and the best positive or the best possible energy that they can. So that they can kind of hit the ground running and already have a great opportunity for engagement. And so the first thing that we did at Widener, right, was, I looked at my staff and I realized that, listen, my customers are my staff. And so what am I doing for them, right, as they go on to deal with their customers? And so, you're selling your department and you need to be a good salesperson as well. So I really looked at all of the policies. We had a lot of policies in place that were very restrictive, that dictated, where they had to be, when they had to be, calling out in and out for buildings, guard tracking, all that kind of stuff that really forced them to be doing busy work because we cared so much about, randomizing patrol and just being in buildings, and less about actual engagement during those patrols. They made the workplace really rigid, really overly critical. There was kind of a negative morale. And so the first thing I did was eliminate those policies. I reconfigured the patrol standards, which empowered officers to take control of the way that they patrolled and responded to incidents and calls for service. And we got a gigantic morale boost from that. And we also had a great opportunity, right, to train them on how to handle those things effectively. Then we looked at, well, let's look at the officer themselves. And so a lot of the big problems with departments is that they're very militaristic. And so their grooming standards kind of wash out any kind of officer individuality. And so we wanted to eliminate that. So, it's important for our customers that they don't just see a uniform, but they see the person who is wearing it. We want them to establish an immediate connection with them over some aspect of that personal appearance. And so we relaxed all of our grooming standards. We allowed officers to grow facial hair, show appropriate tattoos, change their hair color, and allow female officers to wear their hair in a fashion that they preferred. A lot of individuals will look at that and say, well, where's the professionalism or so forth? And, my answer to that, quite frankly, is professional for who? We're being professional for the students, right? We are, I can't tell you the amount of times I've personally observed the student walk and be like, oh my God, I love your ink on your forearm, and then they start talking about that tattoo, but that's a personal connection that we just established. And now that student now knows, hey, I know that person, not because they're campus safety, but because, that's Jason with the awesome tattoos.
Our program, Therapy K9, was, it came about 4 years ago. we had a student who was going through some mental health crisis issues and was thinking about leaving the university, and just a first year generation, which is hard, right? It's always hard going away from home for the first time, but the issues just kept compounding, and she was thinking about leaving the university. So the counselor, Dr. Sonia Hunt, reached out to me and asked me if I would be willing to bring my dog over. The student just kept talking about a dog, that she missed her dog. And my dog is just a mutt that I adopted. She doesn't have any formal training, but she's a good dog. And I felt comfortable that, she's not going to bite, she's not going to growl. So I went to daycare and got my dog. My dog goes to daycare every day. So I went and got her early and, busted her out of school early and brought her back to the university. And we went over to counseling services, so very informal, walked in, she was laying on the carpet, laying there, and the student walked in. Immediately, student fell to the floor, hugged my dog, rubbed on her. Of course, my dog just loved it. And for 30 minutes, cried, laughed, got it all out. And I just kind of sat back in the corner. The counselors were in there, and I just sat back in the corner and watched. And we had a few sessions throughout that semester, and it encouraged that young lady to have the courage and the strength to stay at the university. And she graduated and went on to do great things. And that was a good testament. And I knew right then that we needed to do something to not just protect and serve. We all get that in law enforcement, what we're supposed to do, but we need to emphasize the service side and the humanity side.
For us on our campus, the campus coordination and the communication was excellent during this. And be mindful of the fact that we were still going through COVID, and individuals were still working from home, and that presents its own challenges. But the ability for us to coordinate and communicate well during an emergency and also be remote, to me, is amazing. It's just out of this world. So it means that we're all doing the right things. And I also attribute a lot of that to our implementation of the VOC system, which is our incident management system. So I attribute that because it's, an overall awareness, and it gives everyone a place to go and see what's happening right now. But then again, you can always scroll and find out what's been going on. Also, our relationship with the EOC liaisons, they were active in the system, and they were active with their own departments in terms of putting information in. So that was extremely helpful, because then we really know what's happening. And then so the write-out teams that did activate, they were very active as well. In terms of the situation reports that I mentioned earlier, those are extremely helpful to us, and they give us an overall awareness. We were able to also coordinate bottled water. That became a very big problem, not just for us, but it was a state problem. So we were able to coordinate lots of water from our dining areas and other areas where we were to bring the water in so that we could provide it to our students. That was large. We also have an emergency contract with a company that brings in, they come in and will bring any kind of supplies that you need, but they'll also come in and do repairs, as well as mediation or mitigation strategies to help us kind of get through until we're ready to, start repairs. They stepped in and were able to help us as well.